Have you been spending too much time indoors during this pandemic? Have you spent so much time in your dimly lit living room binge watching Disney Plus that just going out into the sunlight stings your eyes and you can't see anything? Well, guess what? The same thing can happen to your camera. As cinematographers, it's our job to work with light, to shape it, to control it, and sometimes even to fight against it. When we're put in a situation where maybe there's too much light, like on a bright sunny day shooting outdoors, we have to be able to limit the amount of light that's reaching our camera sensor so that we can get proper exposure. Now, there are several ways to do this. You could, on your lens itself, stop down and reduce the amount of light coming in, but then you're going to actually be affecting your image by changing the depth of field. Another method is reducing the ISO setting on your camera itself, but these will only go so low depending on what camera you have. Or you could increase your shutter speed, but by breaking the 180-degree rule of 180-degree shutter compared to your frame rate, you run the risk of getting hyper sharp edges and unnatural motion blur. When it comes down to it, the best method to control your exposure while still maintaining control over the look of your image is using ND filters. NiSi is an optics and filters manufacturer that has a large lineup of filters, including ND filters. I personally use their 4x5.65 ND filters in a matte box in front of my lenses whenever I can, but sometimes you don't have the luxury of taking the time to swap out filters. That's when you need something like a variable ND filter, and luckily NiSi has two options available in their Vario ND, variable ND lineup. Before we begin, I do want to put the disclaimer out there that NiSi did send me these two Vario ND filters for review. I also do want to say that I have since partnered with NiSi and I'm a reseller of their filters on my website. However, I was actually using several NiSi filters on my cameras and in my productions prior to them ever reaching out to me. And of course, they have no input on the content of this video. They're not reviewing it beforehand. And as always, I can say whatever I want. Cooking steak well done is a crime. Now, as I said before, whenever possible, I do prefer to use their 4x5.65 filters in a matte box in front of my lens. But if you're in a much more run and gun situation, you don't have time to be swapping filters, that's where these Vario ND filters really come into play. NiSi has two of these variable ND filters ranging in strength from 1.5 to 5 stops and 5 to 9 stops. Simply thread the filter onto the front of your lens and control the level of light reduction by rotating the outer ring. There's even a little metal pin to help you rotate the filter easily. The rotation has a nice level of stiffness, ensuring that it won't rotate and slip and change exposure when you don't want it to. It also has hard stops to keep you from rotating the filter too far and beginning to run into image distortions like the dreaded X pattern that can occur with some variable ND filters. There are labels for minimum and maximum, as well as these little marking dots in between. Now, these dots don't actually correspond to specific stops of light reduction, but they will give you a good gauge of how much light you are reducing and also make your light reduction repeatable if you remember which mark you were at for a previous shot. Now, of course, anytime you're adding more glass elements in front of your lens, you're running the risk of degrading the image and introducing some optical effects that might not be so desirable. So in order to see how these filters perform, I ran them through a series of tests. When testing the 1.5 to 5 stop filter, I found that it maintained color accuracy quite well all the way through the range. It also looked quite accurate when I compared it to a test shot using no filter at all. So while the 1.5 to 5 stop filter performs quite well in my opinion, When testing the 5 to 9 stop filter, I unfortunately did see a color shift. As you can see in these test shots, there's definitely a magenta cast to the images. I did share these results with NiSi, and they were very transparent in their response. So they did agree that the color shift was noticeable, but they say they've engineered the filter with coatings to keep that color shift as minimal as possible. When you think about it, 5 to 9 stops is a pretty high range of strength, and a certain level of color shift can, I guess, be expected. Because this shift is taking place across the entire image, it can be corrected in post with some color grading. NiSi said their stance on this is that they feel that the customers who are in need of this high level of ND strength are going to find the benefits of the filter's light reduction to outweigh that little bit of extra color correction that's going to be needed in post. I'd say that for 90% of my ND filter needs, it's usually covered by the 1.5 to 5 stop filter. But I wanted to make sure I was perfectly transparent with you guys and let you know that if you are in need of 5 to 9 stops of light reduction and you're going with that filter, you're gonna come into a little bit of a magenta cast, and I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. So now that we've taken a look at the 1.5 to 5 stop filter, as well as the 5 to 9 stop version that has that unfortunate magenta cast, what do I think? I think these are a fantastic option. They are a great blend of price and quality. And like I said, for 90% of my ND needs, I've been using the 1.5 to 5 stop filter. I've been on some run and gun shoots where I don't have time to have a camera rigged up like this, and especially not with a matte box. And the 1.5 to 5 stop has pretty much lived on my lenses while shooting outdoors. So of course, NiSi makes these filters in various thread sizes, so you can go ahead and pick up the thread size that's appropriate for your lenses. Now, a quick tip on purchasing filters and choosing what thread size to go with. You should always purchase a filter that fits the thread of your largest lens. Then, in order to adapt it to all of your lenses that might have smaller threading, all you have to do is pick up a simple and affordable step-up ring, and it'll adapt to all of your lenses. No point in wasting money and buying a filter for every single size of lens that you have. So down in the description below, you'll find affiliate links to these NiSi filters that also include links to the resale store for NiSi products that I actually host on my website. Purchasing through my store really helps me the most to keep the lights on and keep this channel going. But to be honest, you guys are awesome if you use any of the affiliate links down below. I won't hold it against you. And you know what else helps this channel? Is if while you're down there, you go ahead and you give this video a like, click subscribe, and most importantly, get that notification bell on so you'll be notified every time I have brand new content coming to the channel. Hope you enjoyed this review today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.